What's up, everybody? Joe Ruzick here. Wanted to do a quick recap video of the AVP Austin men's final that wrapped up this past weekend. The first stop on the AVP Tour in 2022. The finals contested by Chase Budinger and Troy Field against Phil Dalhausser and Andy Benesh. So without further ado, let's jump in here. And we'll kind of walk through the action. I'll try to jump in between points so we're not watching commercials and downtime. Get my Oakley plug in here early. Chase Budinger wearing M2s, Troy Field and Andy Benesh wearing Sutro lights, and Phil is rocking EV0s. 4 for 4 on Oakleys, so a good start already. Troy Field's going to kick us off with a jump serve. Serving from the good side, as you'll notice, the flags at the top of the screen are moving from our right to left, meaning Troy and Chase are currently playing into the wind, which is the good side. Phil and Andy receiving, which is the advantageous position in beach volleyball. Into the wind being the good side, it makes the court a little bit longer. The wind's going to knock the ball down as well as kind of push topspin stuff down to the sand. And on the contrary, Phil and Andy have a little bit less court to work with. Being downwind, the ball will have a tendency to travel a little bit deeper, which sort of shortens the court. It does come into play more so in game one than game two, but I'll stop and kind of call it out on a couple points where the wind has significant effect. A little bit surprised that Troy and Chase targeted Phil more in this match than Andy. I think the usage rate was somewhere near 30 attacks to around 20 for Andy. We can look at the stats at the end. But that first serve gets him out of system and a rally here right off the bat. Great dig by Troy there. The set kind of pulls him a little bit inside, but a good swing off high hands. Tools the block out of bounds, and it's a reel to start the match. Jumped the gun a little bit on that one. So another jump serve from Troy. This is the wind kind of killing that ball, probably a ball that Phil thought was going to drift out of bounds, but the wind pushes it towards the sideline as well as down into the sand. So inspiring start here at 2-0. Another good serve. It's a little bit shooty of a pass from Phil there. Andy deals with it. Phil does swing into the defense there, and Troy makes a good stab low to his left. That's a tough ball to get to. We're going to suffer through some of these ads here. I'll skip them as quick as I can. It's a good touch by Troy. It's unfortunate that it drifts to a spot that Andy can put it away pretty easily. But as a defender, you want to make those touches, even if it doesn't result in a point. It makes the attacker feel like they have less court to work with. So they're going to have to hit sharper angles or work a little bit harder to get the ball past you, which is a positive thing. So 1-2 on the serve from Phil. Andy running a 4 at the net there, which is jump into the cross for the block. Phil running behind that gets to the line a little bit late. Hard line swing there is a great way to beat that defense. Ideally, what the defense is trying to set up there is a high line roll shot that Phil would run underneath. Good in-system play there. That middle set opened up a lot of angle. Troy had to really commit to a half of the court here. Couldn't really sag and run a shot down. And that's going to be a tough ball to dig for anybody. Great pass. Okay, so this is the first time that the wind has a really significant effect on Troy and Chase in a negative way in the side out game here. So we'll go through this a couple times. It's a good pass. It's a good set. But if you look where the ball is set and where it's contacted, it's set from a good place. It's a straight up and down set, but you'll see this thing drift backwards on Troy, and he ends up kind of reaching behind his head for it. So this is creating a situation where he hits the ball higher than he would like, and it ends up going deeper than he would like. So he misses long by a couple feet there, and I think that's just the product of the wind blowing the set behind him and already being committed to the swing. So catching that ball a little bit earlier than he would like and not out in front of him results in the error there. 3-3, 1 to switch. You can see the wind's kind of howling here. Good serve down the seam. Another set that drifts off. It's a tight pass, so Troy either has to shove that thing right along the plane of the net, which is pretty dangerous with 2 6'9" blockers, or pull him off a little bit. The set pulls him off. Tough short line roll shot. I think it would have scored if it had more juice. Didn't get it over the net there. So 4-3 on the switch. Now they can really rip these jump serves into the wind. It's a good out-of-system play there. Chase's bump setting is solid throughout the entire match. The only critique I would have on the defense there, Phil is peeling with his hands up. Everything good there. Best case scenario, I would say Andy stops here. He continues to move closer to the sideline to really take his half of the court. Fundamentally not terrible, but the way that Troy is jumping out across his body and having to reach for this, I think down the line would be a lower percentage shot than giving him this cross seam kind of from his pin to that deep corner. That gives him a lot of court. It's a good swing nonetheless. Splits both of the defenders. You know, good offense beats good defense sometimes, most of the time. That would have been the one tweak that could have at least gotten them a touch. Another look at the bump set here. Well done. What did I miss? I think a missed serve. Rides the wind out of bounds there. Huge swing there by Troy. They show replay of that. He splits the uprights on that. So blocker in a good position, but just trying to take low angles. And he swings at his forehead there and ends up getting a pretty sweet bounce. They do show a replay here either before or after one of these commercials or on a switch. In system, everything here. Good swing up the seam. Again, high contact point. Using the wind to get that ball down into the court deep. No chance for the defender. 6-5. Tightly contested back and forth through the entire match. More so the first game and first half of game 2. Good pass from Troy. Good defensive setup there from Andy and Phil. Just a better swing. Inside out, tags the outside of the line. We'll take another quick look at this. Everything was set up correctly to get the dig here. It's just better offense. Really covers that and gets it to the line. In system there, Phil goes high cross over the hands. Pretty straightforward side out there. Tight pass here from Troy. Wind doesn't do him any favors. Really crazy body control there from Chase. Where he jumps from, it really looks like he's drifting into the net, but finds Andy's left hand and kind of goes low under him. No harm, no foul here. That's just incidental contact underneath the net. Nothing illegal about it. We'll take another quick look at this. Well done. Good touch there. Would have liked to do a little bit more with that dig. Pulls Phil to the back line. Pretty smooth there. This pass from Troy, I don't know if he was maybe trying to give Chase an option ball because he really rolls this thing up. Takes Chase's hands out of that. Has to bump set, but it's perfect. And he goes flat over the top of Phil's hands. This is a full replay of it. Good hold by Troy here at the top. Looks like cross, and then he just flips it over to the line. And he doesn't have a chance at that one. Good read, great dig. Definitely running a 3 there with Chase diving into the line block and Troy running cross for that dig. Another set here that drifts on him a little bit, catches it behind him. It ends up being a side out for Phil and Andy, but you still have to feel good on the server side. You had some chances, but at least you're forcing them to work pretty hard for that side out. Another great bump set. There are a couple balls here that Troy, I don't think, hits as solid as he would like, and it almost works out in his favor. This one here, contact's super high, a little bit spatchy, but basically brings the blocker completely out of contention here. 9-9. Good lefty touch there again by Troy. Had a couple rangy digs throughout the match like that. Phil in system. They show a replay of this, and where he contacts this and the window that he hits it through, it all looks very routine, but it isn't. Chase is a big block too. He jumps well. I mean, he has a 1.5 feet to squeeze that ball through. Looks like a simple swing. Turn down the line on that serve. Good pass by Troy. Good swing. Everything in system there. So now we're 1 to the technical. Finally goes outside Phil there. Most of his serves already in the match were up the seam. Forces Phil to go to his right. His transition approach here is just weird. Has to back his way into the court. Isn't a bad set. Still gets a swing out of it, but great peel and dig from Chase. And perfect put away. Again, Andy running to the line there. Not set up for the hard swing. Hoping more for a shot. Advertising for Kona. We're back into it. 11-10 switch for Chase and Troy. Here's that spike from before, where if Andy is narrow, he probably grabs this. Jams him a little on that pass. Touch on the block, had to go. Another great dig from Troy. This whole tournament, I felt like Troy was playing much better defense than I've seen over the past couple years. The other thing to call out here is you have 2 6'9" guys in Phil and Andy that are split blocking, which great, that's a huge advantage. But the disadvantage to that is you have 6'9" blockers that have to go back and play defense. This is not necessarily a routine play. It's a pretty good set and a good cross swing from high contact point with some pace, and Phil just has no problem with it. Like if he played defense, I think he would be one of the top defenders. His dig stats were great, so were Andy's. And then with the blocking that they get combined as a team, it's pretty tough. Like it's the try and Trevor method that they've been doing for a few years, just with historically potentially the best player of all time. Just does things a little bit better than everybody else, even at his age. Good swing from Troy. Gets it in front of Phil there. In system, high hands, cross on the swing there. 12-12. So you see usage there. Phil getting more attacks than Andy. After the outcome of this, when we look at the stats, it's an area that I would have liked to see more focus going at Andy It was his first AVP final. Would have challenged him a little bit more. Another great bump set. This is another swing from Troy. We talked about that Spachi one that he had earlier that took blocker out of play. This is another one. He kind of laughs this off afterwards, which makes me think he didn't hit it the way that he wanted to. His contact point is silly. And when he goes cross away from this line block from Andy, Phil is so dug in to getting to this short cross. There's just no chance at this ball. And it's comfortably in the court too. Like he's got 3 feet wider that he could go and deeper that he could go. And it's just a contact point. Getting that ball down to the sand is just tough to deal with. He knows he hit it bad. Don't love that serve from Troy. I get why you would mix up pace, but I would wait to do that until you're on the other side, especially if you've been hitting those running jump serves. Downwind, it's not going to have as much bite getting down to the sand or to the sideline. 2 6'9" guys, I don't think are going to struggle getting to a short ball when they have the wind in their face that's pushing the ball towards them. So I would go with a deeper serve there with the wind. Just put that ball in play, make them make 3 good contacts to score a point, kind of let them off the hook. What do we think here? Does this swing out if Phil doesn't touch it? Probably gets in the corner. It's a good take on 2, especially with how high that pass was and having to watch it come across your body on the right side. It's a little bit unnatural from where that pass is coming from. Chase and Troy played great, especially in this first game. When we look at the last few points, it's a game they really should win. 14 all. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you probably know the outcome of the match, so I'm not spoiling anything. But we'll talk a little bit more about it when it gets to crunch time here. Enjoy another commercial. Text back my adoring fans. Thanks, Mom. Good swing here from Chase. It's a high contact point and it's relatively flat. So even though it gets blocked, it's a soft block that Troy covers. Another great bump set here from Chase. The swing from Troy is ridiculous. I would require surgery after this. They show it again from a little different angle. And what he does with his shoulder and wrist at the top, extremely impressive. And the line that this ball takes, there's not a huge window between defenders there, and neither of them even reach for it. It's that good. So fighting through side outs, gives another one back on serve there. 15 all. There are a couple sets that Troy hits like this, and it's exceptional. Squares everything up, great platform, and put some spin on it to roll Chase up to the net. And that spin also helps cut through the wind, make the ball flight a little bit more predictable for your partner. And Chase just smokes it by the defense. So 16-15. Crunch time of game 1. Phil taking it on 2 from the right side. Little easier ball for him to take from the left when he was playing with Nick. That was a staple of their side out offense. But he can take it from the right too. Really good off-pace shot there. Keeps his hand high, forcing the blocker to reach high. which gives you more angles low and around him. That ball doesn't go over Phil. It goes to the left of him from our angle. But Phil's trying to defend that high line, force a higher shot so his defender can run under it. And Chase chisels. Seven, 6, game one. We'll just watch this a couple times. Good luck. This is a line block from Chase, too. There isn't much of a window there. They replay this. I mean, what do you do with that? I felt like they paused the game sometimes to go to replays just to make sure their coverage was good. They didn't do it on that play. We might show that one later. I forget. Great set, great approach. Good swing up the seam. His contact point on that, when everything is in system, I feel like even with the blocker like Andy, at best, it's a high hands touch. You're hoping for a soft block there. I'm not going to block that one for points with where he's contacting it. So on serve, actually, Troy and Chase have flipped it by one since they started serving. Two unfamiliar partners, first tournament together. You get them with the hubby wife up the middle. 1917. Have the spread that they need. It's just side outs from here. If they can side out, they're going to take game one. They are on what we would call the bad side. It's been a high side out percentage game thus far. I feel like you're in a good position, especially Phil and Andy calling a timeout. You know they're feeling a little bit of pressure. That was a key moment to shank serve receive there. So they get another opportunity, which would have iced game one. I think if you give 3 chances to side out, they convert. Troy is running on the contact for the high line. The redirect from Chase's block causes Troy to redirect. Doesn't get the height or the location of the set that he wants. It's still a good opportunity. Andy just makes a better play here. But again, still a nervy side out for Phil and Andy. They had to make a couple extra contacts to get that point. Don't want to give them any free side outs coming out of the timeout. So I think they did a good job in that regard. So this sequence coming down the stretch is the first time, even though Troy made a couple errors earlier in this game, I think it was some wind adjustments, potentially a little bit of bad luck with where some of those sets drifted. But this stretch is a tough one. Phil touches a silly number, but I think when you have a blocker back defending, you want to have Andy go make this play. So deeper in the court with this roll shot. Don't have to be too cute with it to bring the blocker into play. I think if you look where Andy is moving, Troy had a lot of court deep corner there. It's a good play by Phil. We can't take that away from him. I would have preferred to force Andy to go make a good dig there and take Phil out of this play. And Troy tries to hit the shot that I wanted last point here. So he hits this one really high just to avoid that block. So the last point is in Troy's head there, forcing him to hit a different shot, a shot he's not that comfortable with, clearly. He's missed it the past 2 points, one short, one long or wide, or however you want to consider it there. He just hit it with a little bit too much. The other thing to look at here is where Andy ends up. So Troy is hitting this ball now. Andy is shifting towards this left sideline. Phil's in the cross for the block. So you have a ton of court here open if you keep this flat, but Phil is forcing you so high that watch the position that Andy can get back to when this ball finally hits the sand. Like, you have to be pretty sharp on that shot. Like, you have to lower the trajectory closer to Phil's hands, which is a dangerous proposition, especially after you just got swatted on the last point. It's a tough shot, but these back-to-back points totally flipped game one, forcing Troy and Chase into a timeout. Now you're up against it. You have to side out to keep this game going. A game that you were just up 19-17 in. So 2 side outs get you out of it. And now you're going to have to find 2 reels somewhere. So the hitting errors are telling quite a story there. That was the reason that this game even stayed close. If you cut those in half, this game is over. Andy and Phil not making any. So based on that, like, if you remove the errors, like if all things were equal here, this game would be a blowout. So Troy and Chase overall playing better, but just those, the terminations of points with those hitting errors kept Phil and Andy hanging around. And that's not something you want to do with the best blocker of all time. And just like that, you give up 4 straight, and now you're down a game. It's just unfortunate for Troy and Chase. They played a great game throughout. A couple plays by Phil at the end. Really, you give the last 3 real points in a row to Phil with a block presence that forces a hit out, and then a stuff block. Again, if I'm playing in this match, which I am obviously not, I just would make Andy do a little bit more. If he beats you, so be it. I just wouldn't let Phil beat me. So let's get into game 2. A hitting percentage was like .520 for Troy and Chase earlier in the game, and it just kind of took a nosedive late. Good digs. No blocks for them. But again, they were still in that game in the driver's seat. Aces to errors, not a problem there either. So game 2 is starting the same way that game 1 started, with Troy serving on the good side. I have to presume that somebody prioritized receive in game 1, and then the other team prioritized side in game 2, would be my guess, or vice versa. But we have the exact same setup as the start to game 1. Little better pass to start for Phil, but makes a hitting error. You can tell by his body language that's not something he's used to doing. Andy expected it to be in as well, but alas, 1-0. Tough ball there for Chase. It touched the block, redirected a little bit. Troy got hands on it, but that ball was going to have to come over from Chase. And if he got that ball over, he's probably going straight to the hospital for shoulder surgery. But good touches, working for side outs. You want to force your opponent to do that all day. Good stab there from Phil. And misses the bump twice. Wide and long. Smooth from Phil there. It's just got to be easy. You're contacting it from there. This is another set that Troy does a great job rolling it up to the net again. He had one of those in game one. That's a great set. Chase doesn't get all of it, but gets enough of it to score the point. A great out-of-system set. That's the second ball that's just undiggable from Phil. Just bounced it in front of Troy there. Let's take a look again. Yikes. Everything's smooth there. High hands. 4-3 on the switch. Another good switch for Troy and Chase. Starting serving to switch up is always good. You've kind of reversed any advantage that initial serve received to start the game had for Phil and Andy. Good dig there. About 5-3. Really controlled play from Troy and Chase there. Great ups and setting. That one probably a little bit tight, but Chase was in the slam dunk contest, no problem. Tough break here. Troy sees the poke over early and gets to the spot. It's just a little deeper than he anticipated. He was kind of running underneath it, so he had to reach with the tomahawk. Tougher ball to control. Pushes a little too tight. Bill's up there. It's problematic. It's Chase's shoulder on the way down, so he can't replay it. Troy's not in a position to play it. It's a good defensive move. They got what they wanted. In the right spot. Got a touch. Just glad nobody got hurt. It's a good serve. The wind doesn't do Troy any favors. Certainly doesn't do Chase any favors. Kind of has to cover up there. Is a hard hat situation at the net. They show a replay of this. Made him think on that deep serve, but they rightfully let it go. Up 6-5. Andy bails Phil out there. Low set, drifting into the blocker. Tools Chase's elbow. There's like a little bit of an argument here. And I don't know why. I don't know if there was maybe some contact, but the trajectory this ball takes after Andy hits it, there's no way there's not a contact on the block. Refs got that one right. No contact under the net for sure. So I don't know what the conversation was, but it was a short one. Everything good here. High hands again. Gets the touch off the block. I don't know if this ball is out if Andy doesn't touch it. If it's not, there's just no defense for that. That's a big blocker touching high. And Troy's just over it. A little quicker tempo on this set forces the defense to commit, especially Troy on defense. You can't wait around. That's just too much angle. So he ends up with half the court there to work with. Slides it by Chase's arms. Running through this pass, it's just a little slow on the footwork for me. Now in real time, I thought Phil got Konged here, especially with the angle that they gave us. But when they show the replay, you'll see Troy was like 4 feet off the net. First ace for Phil and Andy there. Well, inside out with the wrist. Works it perfectly to that corner. Chase doesn't really react. They show the replay of this one too. We're going to get a commercial. I'll go back real quick. The placement couldn't have been better on this serve, though. I think it hits like the buckle there. Like it is just perfectly in the corner. This is the biggest lead for Phil and Andy, other than when they got to 21-19 in game one. They don't really look back. So I don't like this swing. He's not really in a position to put the ball away. My justification here is that you have 2 6'9" guys with good ball control, great hands. You got to try to get them out of system. A free ball is basically a free point. I still don't love this decision to go lefty prayer. But after the point, this ball's hit real solid. I think this one ends up back in the crowd. That is smoked into the sand. Landing now. Does get yellow carded for this. I don't know what the conversation is. The definition of a yellow card. Doesn't really hurt you. You just can't do it again. Serve out. A couple years ago, I was at the qualifier in Chicago, and the McKibbins, I forget which one of them, they were playing in the qualifier. It might have been day one. They literally ripped the net down, and it was like a 20-minute delay. And they finally like got the game going again, and I think they got a yellow card. And I was like, how is that a warning? Some argument here on this serve. Looked pretty close. Ended up being out. Replay gave us a better view. Another good lefty stab from Troy. He had 3 of those in this match. So he's reaching back on this swing as well, but just a much better snap through the ball than the couple errors that he made in game one where he swung long. Tough ball to handle there. A lot of pace. Wrist away from Phil. Very high. Perfectly to the line. Away from the defender. Away from the blocker. Point. Up 11-9. Headed to the good side after the switch. Have to feel pretty good about your position if you're Phil and Andy. Up a game. Basically stole game one. Chase goes high cross. Catches hands. You're still in it if you're chasing Troy. Don't love that serve out of the technical. That's drifting away from the player. It's out of bounds by the time it crosses the net. Doesn't ask them any questions in terms of if they have to reach for it to try to pass it or not. Just a bailout. Now you can pound jump serves into the wind from the good side. Up a couple points. Now one more. It's just a good play by Phil. Got to be aggressive with that swing. Maybe you cover it. It seemed like it was just blocked to a really good spot. I think they show a replay of it here. Maybe Chase can do a little bit more, get off the net and get a little tighter to his hitter there. Now it's a 4-point lead from the good side. Things are looking a little bleak. Everything good there. Smoke ball under the block by Troy. Cameron called that a victory lap. Seemed a little premature. Down a game and 3 points, but victory lap for that point for sure. Chiseled down the line there. They ended up beating Chase on 3 or 4 balls that painted the line. I don't know if that's a coaching play or just better offense. If you get beat a couple times with it, maybe you reach for that antenna a little bit tighter to force them to come inside and let your defender make a play. Or if you're just giving them that thin margin shot, they were able to hit it every time they tried it. Good shot there. I would have peeled if I was blocking, but I'm 6 feet tall. So I peel almost all the time. So down 12-15. Your chance here is to get to 13-15 on the switch, moving to the good side. That feels a lot better than 16-12. This is, to me, last-ditch effort when you're playing at this level with guys that side out at this percentage. Again, a ball I would definitely go to Andy on. It's a perfect shot by Phil. I just wouldn't keep putting him in the opportunity to hit these perfect shots. Nonetheless, it's really good. Inside out swing here from Troy. Little bit wide. After we skip this commercial, they'll show it again. It was pretty close. Ooh, 2 commercials. If you need a mattress, check out Serta. But clearly out. Andy bails him out. 13-17. Good position for Phil and Andy. It's just side outs from here. You can give up a reel every time the other team is serving, and you're still all right. That's not the goal, but that's the cushion. So some celebration here from Phil. Looked like he was early to me on that jump. Broad jumps underneath it, reaching back for it. A little bit of a prayer with that swing. Catches hands. Not a ball Troy can make a play on. Started to show more emotion than I'm used to seeing out of Phil over the last few points here. Hitting percentage tells a significant story of this match. Great swing there by Troy. But still up against it. Going to have to go on a run here. That's a killer there. It's the right run from Troy and Chase. It's a better swing by Andy. If he takes any pace off of that, Troy gets a touch, but he doesn't. So it's 9-4. So at worst for Phil and Andy, they're switching up 19-16, receiving on the good side. So they are in cruise control. Get a good dig there. It's the first block for Chase and Troy. I don't know if Phil had room to set that or if the wind was blowing him a little bit too tight. Either way, good play from Chase. Serve eats Phil up there. Set drifts over the net. So the scenario we talked about comes to fruition. It is 16 serving 19. Still comfy. Just want to get this first side out of the way. Especially since they got rid of the freeze, which freaked me out when I watched one of the early matches. I didn't understand what was going on. No freeze, no tape trickler rule on match point. Assuming that they're aligning to FIVB Olympic game rules. I also read it might have something to do with Bally's introducing betting into beach volleyball next year, which would be huge for our sport. Championship point, Phil back to serve, up 2016, huge cushion. Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Good swing by Troy there. Good side out. 17-20, up against it. Got to score 3 reels to keep themselves alive. Veteran move there by Phil. Slow things down, clean the sunglasses. Just got to get one. So that's kind of what I was looking for all match. Let's challenge Andy. Let's make him hit polished shots. Mix up our defense if we need to, but make sure he has the full repertoire. Everything is good here. He's got to be juiced because we all know what's coming. It's just a matter of getting it done. I think he wanted to put an exclamation point on this. Hits a little bit too hard. Quick conversation here between Phil and Andy. Definitely a let's take our time out. No, I'm good. So Andy goes and wipes his hands off. More about slowing the heart rate down than anything else. 18-20. It's an up by Troy. Really good dig by Andy. Terrible set from Phil. But Chase bails him out. Hits a shot that I believe is correct. Open court, certainly would have scored. Maybe just a little too jazzed about having that free point. Match over. Championship over. Congrats to Andy. First AVP final, first AVP win. Not a bad partner to pick up and do it with. So let me see if I can quickly pull up AVP stats. I don't know what our timestamp is right now, but probably too long. The AVP site, this is like the first time I really dug in to look at statistics, and they're great. So right now, since there's only been one tournament, this all reflects just AVP Austin, but these are season statistics. If you go to scoring for this event, that's early matches first. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see the stats from the finals, and it breaks it down by set. So comprehensive stats here. This is a great thing to look at. For me, the things that stood out were errors by Troy, which kind of killed his hitting percentage based on the number of attempts he had. I mean, highest kills in the match, but those errors offset quite a few of them. Chase played solid, great hitting percentage there. This was the question mark for me. I wouldn't have had Phil hitting 9 more balls than Andy. I don't know if they felt like Phil wasn't passing as well. Regardless, you got a 4-time Olympian there. Nerves, I don't think, would be an issue for him. You're giving him 2 contacts every point to Andy's 1. I would have flipped these numbers for sure and probably boosted Andy's even higher. I don't know if you're worse off if you give Andy 80% of the balls, honestly. Easy to say in hindsight. I'm assuming Troy and Chase had a strategy. It worked great in game 1. Had a bit of a letdown in set 2. That's to be expected. I think emotionally a little bit drained after you play a game that you feel like you should win. And then in a matter of 3 points and probably 60 seconds, if you cut out that timeout, you lost a game that you had to feel comfortable in. Good stats here on the AVP site. Check it out. Also, if you go on youtube.com, the AVP channel has a ton of the matches. Everything that was on court 1 or the stadium court are up here to be viewed. That makes watching pretty easy. Coverage was pretty good for this tournament. Couple things I would have liked to have seen. If you have a men's match and a women's match going on at the same time, I don't care who's on stadium or who's on court 1, court 2, but I would have one of the genders on each of the courts at all times. I'm a bigger fan of men's volleyball. I'll watch the women's, but men's volleyball is my sport. So if it's being played and it's not being streamed because it's over on court 2, that was a little bit of a letdown for me. I was having to search for players' live streams to get that coverage. But all in all, it was a good weekend. I think Austin showed out. They had great weather for it. Grandstands were a little bit smaller, but they were packed, which is good to see. So hopefully a positive for the AVP Tour as well. Next one up is in a couple weeks in New Orleans, another Pro Series event. So it's no qualifier. The field is set, 16 men's, 16 women's teams. A couple honorable mentions in this tournament, and not just because they're buddies of mine, but Logan Weber finishing with a 5th, making it to Sunday, his first tournament with John Hyden. That dude's been putting in a crazy amount of work over the past couple years. Evan Corey as well with a 7th, his best finish also. Guys that I've played with and against over the past couple years, and really making waves. I was better than Logan probably 4 years ago. He might dispute that, but I think it's actually true. And now he is light years better than me. Post comments, any questions, any reactions that you guys had, what you learned from this tournament. If you like this video, I'd love doing more of this stuff. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys learned something from it, enjoyed the coverage, and we'll do it again sometime. Later.